Hi, everybody. We wanted to hop on here really quick and just talk to you a little bit about our other platform that we are going to be offering a bunch of other information on. And it's called Adventures in Joy. And we'll put a link to it on the bottom here so you guys can check it out. This is something that Tay and I created after our third baby, right? After Sage. And it was around the idea of what does it really mean if you let the concept of joy be your compass, and then everything you do really is in alignment with trying to move more and more towards that. Now, that doesn't mean it's not without its ups and downs and trials and tribulations, which we've basically explored lots of. But when that became the compass, then it really made us start to shift lots of different things. And what we wanted to do, part of the idea with creating that platform was then to just share with people different ways of doing things.
Yeah, and I think even the idea of joy, we did break that down, and we have a section on the website that speaks specifically what we mean by joy. It's not this fleeting, momentary, self-gratifying emotion that comes and goes, but it's more connected to our spirit, our soul, and how we really want to live our life. It's connected to intuition, a deeper knowing of how we want to spend our time in this lifetime, navigating our life. So please check that out. Again, we'll put a link onto that specific page as well for you to read a little bit more about that. But we really have been feeling more and more compelled these days to share our adventures with you. And with the platform of Inspire Health Podcast, we bring you lots of information, lots of insights. And the AIJ platform is more about the practical applications of how this is done. And we definitely incorporate what we are learning and the things that get us most excited when we speak to specific guests or when we have our own aha moments. So the AIJ platform, we initially were holding more information about the retreats and workshops that we were hosting. However, during the period of COVID and more quarantine and less opportunities for travel, we feel now we still want to get information out there, and we'll be doing this in form of videos. We'll be bringing you more videos. So we'll be sharing different things. We'll be sharing with you information about gardening. We've been doing a lot of that. And I should maybe preface this by saying that we're not experts. And and I think this is really important because we're wanting to share with you our journey in order to inspire you and empower you so that you can see the ways in which we ourselves, having access to so much information, also falter and make mistakes and need to re-examine things and reevaluate things. But we're sharing our process with you so that you can also see for yourself that it definitely is a process and
possible, right?
And it's
We've talked
possible.
lots on the podcast around this idea of moving back into a inner authority as opposed to an outer authority, to trying to connect more with our own inspiration and what we really feel like we are here to do, what we're inspired to do, and following more of that intuitive sense that comes more from the heart. And so part of that's like, how do you transition that from the way things go on in your regular life and then actually putting it into practice in your regular life? And what does that even look like? And so we're going to share with you some of the different things that we've done. Like we've done some gardening in the past, but we're really taking that on as a big project. We also think it's really important to provide different ways that I think it's important right now for people to become more self-sustainable with different things, more self-sufficient. So To us, we wanted to learn how to do some more gardening. So you don't have to have massive space to do this. You can start with something small. So don't let those things come in as being limitations. But if it's something that grabs you that says, you know what, I've heard lots about that. That sounds like that might be an interesting project. We also think it's a really important thing to do with our kids. I mean, it's a great, these are all fundamentally, these are helpful for us to grow our own food, know what's going into our food, and have access to making our own food. And also, our kids get to have this experience. So if you're a parent, any of this stuff are all really valuable life lessons for the kids to learn and take part in. So we're going to share with you some of the stuff around the gardening things that we're incorporating. I'll even incorporate some of the different cool stuff that we're learning from a new course I'm doing on biogeometry, on how to even impact some of the stuff that we're doing on these subtle energetic levels, which I think is fascinating. We've just recently got 5 new baby chicks that the girls are going to be looking after and learning how to do some of that. So we'll share some of that information with you. The cooking.
The cooking, yes. So while we were away in Mexico, we were there for 10 months, and my mom came to visit us for 3 of those months. And the community that we were within they were really excited about my mom's cooking. So we're going to be sharing with you some recipes from her, and they're awesome. My background is Persian, and we have so many different tastes and flavors, similar to Indian style food. And it's really great because exposing our children to those different flavors, it has really helped to develop their palate. And our kids now, wherever we take them or wherever we are, they're so much more open to eating anything and everything that would
Mm-hmm.
be healthy for them. So they are exposed to lots of different vegetables and herbs on a regular basis, raw as well as cooked, and different tastes such as tart, bitter, sweet,
It's not the
bland.
standard sweet and salty that is really predominant in North American cooking for the most part. So, and the other thing that's really neat about some of the recipes we're going to share is that a lot of them incorporate a lot of fresh herbs. So herbs are one of the most packed with phytonutrients for things like basil and mint and some of these different natural seasonings. But a lot of people just don't even know how to do that or how to even access it. So,
Or how to even incorporate it
yeah.
into your daily life, and as far as what you're cooking and how you're consuming those different herbs.
So we've got Taya's mom recruited now to start cooking some meals, and we're videoing them. We'll kind of clip them up so that you guys can actually start to try that stuff out and play with some of these different meals. We're not specifically doing anything around this has got to be paleo or this has to be vegan or it's whatever. It's a bunch of different recipes. You pick what
Mhm.
resonates with you. There's different ways you could always modify things. I'm not being too strict about anything because I ultimately think when it comes to diet, there is no one diet. You need to just figure out what resonates with you. Get out of your head, get more into your body to see how things actually make you feel, and then experiment with it and change them around. Pick ones that work for you, ignore the ones that don't work for you. But I think just try stuff out and see if there's different things that can. For us, it's just fun to share this because these are meals that we have fairly regularly. They're really healthy from my perspective. They work well with us and with our kids. They train the palate to have different tastes. And we just thought it would be really fun to start to share that with you.
And yeah, just to give you a few examples, we're also going to be sharing with you ways to make, for example, yogurt. How do you make yogurt when you have milk? Ways that, to make different jams and to make
Pestos.
different, yeah, as well as pickles. So pickled vegetables. And we're going to be working with that as well. And yeah, lots of fun stuff coming at you from the Shivazi Loken residents.
Well, and it comes back again to this idea of like when you see other people doing it, even like
Mhm.
making mistakes and figuring out how to do it and actually starting to integrate it, then it
It's
gives you
all
guys
just
a chance.
experience.
Yeah, and it's just fun. So it's like to have a little bit more fun with trying things that are different. The other stuff I think that's important that we want to share around this, and we're just kind of giving an overview right now, but even if you are feeling like you're in a place in your life where you just want things to change and you're not even sure where to begin, what we want to share with you is just different ways of living because we've made some pretty big changes over the past several years because we've chosen to make some big changes. And again, these might not be for everybody. I'm not saying you have to do this, but if this type of stuff resonates with you, then that might be something there for you to look into. But even different ideas of community living, literally like with family. Like, can you live with family? Can you change things down in a way that simplifies your life, where you've got more natural support systems in place with kids, with finances, with cooking, with all these different things? Um, that can ease some of the stressors that allow you to maybe start to live life in a different way. These are some of the things that we want to share with you as well, because, like when we currently right now, we have set up a dynamic where we have a house with Taya's family. It's very much set up as two separate locations, and it works really amazingly. It doesn't mean that it wasn't without its challenges. And initially, we weren't even sure if that was even going to be a possibility. But as we kind of went through that and worked through some of the different pieces, it's actually become a really amazing dynamic. And there's this really neat, mutually supportive atmosphere that starts to develop. So even if that's totally like, oh my God, there's no way I could live with my family or something along those lines, maybe not. But maybe if you see some different options on how that can happen, maybe that's something that might be another option. We've talked to a lot of people over this last while from all different walks of life. And a lot of people are getting an impulse to want to get back
Home.
to home, whatever that is for them. And some of them have been very much coming. We were just talking to a friend that's moving back to Australia, and she's going back because she wants to live with her family. Her family's getting older. They're going to need her support. So they're trying to figure out a way where this can work. And what they're finding is that that takes a certain burden off of her in some ways. It supports them in another way. And if that dynamic is starting to open up to be a possibility, that might be something that could put a dramatic shift in the stressors on your life, the financial stressors, the time, the kids support, lots of different pieces too.
And it's important to share our stories. I think, especially as we're kind of playing with different ways of living, so that we can break through any sort of stigmas or programming, or just having gone along with just how everybody has done things for so long. Because one of the things that our friend said, when she shared with us that she's moving back to Australia, is that yeah, I know I'm moving back to live with my parents. And we want to share our experience with how that's been, so that it's not conceived as such a, or perceived as such a negative thing. It's actually,
or like a failure. A lot of
Yeah.
times this idea is like, we got to get out and be independent. And there's nothing wrong with any of that, but there also doesn't have to be something wrong to come back and create a different dynamic. And like I'll say with people with health and diet and lifestyle, it's like it changes all the time depending on where you are in your life. Sometimes there's just different periods of time that open up where something like that could be a really beneficial thing, or times change in a way where that becomes actually even a necessity sometimes for some families.
So stay
Oh,
tuned.
yeah. The other
Yeah.
thing that we're going to be doing is, when we were away in Mexico for a bit, we kind of became a bit of a hub in some ways for a lot of people around health, for looking after like literally anything. So whether it was my kid has a sore throat or a fever, or I just got stung by a bee, or there's this rash going on, what do I do about it? Because, the information that we do, being a naturopathic doctor and osteopath and some of this different work, we had a pretty extensive first aid travel kit that we had made. And while we were there, what we realized was that, man, there is so much stuff that parents can do on their own for themselves and for their kids when it comes to first aid situation. They just don't have the tools for it. So literally when we came back, I just sat down and hammered out a book on natural travel first aid for the traveling family. And I kind of broke down 6 major sections, and I am just in the process of formatting that book right now. And pretty soon it will be ready to be put out, and I will give more information about that. But what I've basically done is put down 6 major sections looking at things like how to deal with different tummy troubles, how to deal with colds, flus, and immune system, how to deal with fevers, different things that you can incorporate that can be very supportive for those types of common ailments that often come up. and what specifically we use. I'm basically giving you the list and a link on where you can even get those specific supplements that we use in our own travel first aid kit, so that people can actually take a little bit more control around that. Because otherwise what happens is we get scared, we panic, especially when it's something with our kids and we don't know what to do. And then we usually go to conventional medicine, which can be fine. Sometimes that's necessary, but they're also going to use different tools. And sometimes those tools may not be the first line of tools that you want to use initially. So I've also got in the book a section on when do you need to go and see professional help for certain things? What can you manage on your own? I can tell you firsthand from our family, we've been able to manage everything on our own just by knowing what to do and the things to implement. So I'm going to be bringing that to you guys because I also think that it is incredibly important, particularly now that we learn how to manage a lot of our own first aid stuff. I do think that we are going to run into more and more shortages in healthcare. I think it's going to be harder to have access to some of the stuff. And I feel like the time right now is very important for us to learn how to do certain things on our own and for our families, which incorporates how do we take care of things. I used to talk to patients and they'd be like, oh my, especially if it was like a lot of families from like Asia or Eastern Europe. And they'd be like, my grandma used to talk about doing stuff like that, or they used to do this all the time. It's like a lot of that information was common knowledge. It just got kind of outsourced. And now we forgot how to bring it back. So I'm wanting this book to bring that back. And I will also be turning that book into an online course so that people can take it with them as an app and be able to know what to do with a lot more information than what's just in the book. So again, ties in with this idea of being self-sustainable, taking care of ourselves and our family from a health perspective. What can we do as far as learning how to cook nutritious foods and growing some of the different things? Things like pickling and being able to have access to food later on.
Yeah, I think that covers it. So we'll be sharing all of that with you in short videos, focusing specifically on one theme moving forward. But this was basically a bit of a longer video to give you an intro into what's coming and what to look forward to. And if there's any feedback, if there's any specifics that you guys want us to get into, please let us know. I know that a few of you are going to be tuning in that have connected with us in the past. And if there's specific recipes that you're wanting us to share, send us an email or just leave it in the comments below the video and we will respond as well.
Yeah, there'll be fun ones for us to even explore. If they're not things that we do, we can try it out and let you know how that goes for us as well. All right, everybody, keep us posted.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.